It is time for the Rural Intelligence Report with Mark Williams, ruralintelligence.com. That's where you can go to find out what's going on, what's coming up, and what's been going on in our region. They have a great chronological calendar of coming events as well. And we just touch on a few of the things that you'll see 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at that site. Mark, nice to speak to you today.
Good morning, Marshall. And yes, an exciting week this week. We've got a smorgasbord, a veritable smorgasbord of events this week. Everything from books, new books that are coming out, which will be great gifts, all the way through to wonderful concerts as one way or another. So, yeah, really interesting.
We will start off in Stockbridge, Massachusetts on the 13th.
Yep, Stockbridge Library on Tuesday the 13th at 6:30 is hosting Gary Levier, I think is how you pronounce his name. And he is the author of a book called Southern Berkshires Through Time. And I have a copy of it in front of me, and it is really fascinating. It gives you a look at the last 150 years of the area through photographic images, and a bit of a narrative as well. But the key thing is you look at these images, and he's juxtaposed two. He's taken an image from 100, 150 years ago, and then taken a photograph from exactly the same place in the last few months. And it is absolutely, it's fun to see the changes, and it's fun to see how many places have remained very, very similar. So it's absolutely a fascinating book. He's going to be talking about it, as I say, at the Stockbridge Library on the 13th. And the lovely thing is that all the profits from the sale of this book are going to go to the Stockbridge Museum and Archive. So it's a good cause as well. So a really interesting book, and I think it will be a fascinating talk.
All right, also on the 13th, not too far away, we head to Sheffield, Massachusetts for a literary dinner.
Yep, down to the Racebrook Lodge. They are having, they have a great sous chef at Racebrook Lodge called Maren Casorio. And Maren is a poet and he's the sous chef actually at the Lodge's Stagecoach Tavern. And they're putting together an evening where they have a 4-course family-style dinner, which I know will be good because Maren's involved in it. And then also they're having a special set of literary performances in the wonderful barn space that they have there. If you've been, it's really wonderful. They're calling the evening A Hungry Tongue. And it should be great fun. So if you're looking for something to do on a Tuesday evening, which will be unusual, fun, interesting, and keep you active, this would be the sort of thing. So it's Racebrook Lodge, 6 o'clock on Tuesday, November the 13th. And you might well just check in advance and make sure you have a reservation if you have the time.
We will stay in Sheffield, as a matter of fact, on the 13th. And the Berkshire Natural Resource Council has a Hike Bob's Way.
Yeah, this is earlier in the day, and it's sort of on the border of Sheffield and Monterey, I think, really. This is the BNRC, also known to us as the Berkshire Natural Resources Council, is going to have a hike along Bob's Way. This is a 2-mile hike, and Bob's Way, and it's just sort of in Monterey, Sheffield area. And the lovely thing is that it's got a lot of history to it. It was, I think, built in the 18th century or developed in the 18th century. And it was it's a hike with lots of hardwood forests, stone walls, foundations. There are wetlands, there are old roads, and the BNRC say this really is a very representative New England landscape. So if you need some fresh air, this is a fun hike, 10 o'clock in the morning at the BNRC, and you can find out exactly where to meet if you go to ruralintelligence.com and click through. And by the way, I love the note they put at the bottom of the page. They say, remember, it's hunting season, so please wear your orange. Not often that you get those sort of comments. I love it.
Orange is the new black. Okay. We will move on to November 15th and head to Poughkeepsie, New York.
Yeah, this one is a bit more serious in the sense that it's a serious lecture, but I think it's really coming to be important because as the population is aging, there are more and more opportunities to really discover how to have a productive and healthy life as people get older. And Vassar College is hosting a lecture by John Ratey, who's a doctor, and he's one of the co-authors of Driven to Distraction. And basically, he's an associate professor of clinical psychiatry at Harvard Medical School. He's also written other books as well. But what he's discussing in this talk is how your brain and your fitness are connected, and how important it is to take exercise and physical movement as well, so that you keep not only your body fit and healthy as you get older, but also your brain remains very, very active as well. So it's a 5:30 lecture at Vassar on Thursday the 15th. And if you're getting a bit older like me and you need a little more exercise, this may be the sort of thing that you can go along and learn what to do and to keep active.
On the 15th, we will head to Pittsfield, Massachusetts.
Yeah, the people at Hancock Shaker Village are really getting prepped up for the holidays, and they're and they're having what I think is the sort of the right way of doing it. They're calling it a wreath and sip on Thursday the evening, starting at 7:00 in the evening. And the whole idea is that you can grab a glass of wine, or there may be other drinks as well, and you will go along and you can design and craft a seasonal wreath full of sort of fragrant branches and whatever it is, and then you can take it home. And the lovely thing is that they have a lot of local experts on how to make these wreaths at the Hancock Shaker Village, so you will be able to really learn how to do this, and maybe when you get home you'll be able to make some more. So the lovely thing about this is you do have to register in advance, but the registration will mean that it includes all sorts of materials as well as snacks and wine as well. So do, if you're thinking of doing some decorating for the season, do go and check this out at Hancock Shaker Village on Thursday at 7:00 in the evening.
We will stay in Pittsfield, the Berkshire Museum Festival of Trees, the preview party.
Yes, that's on Friday, November the 16th. Now, this is a massive event for the area. Every year, the Berkshire Museum puts together over 100 holiday trees which decorate all the rooms, or many of the rooms and corridors at the Berkshire Museum. And they usually have a big preview party. And the lovely thing is that these holiday trees are all sponsored by local businesses or people. And so you get to check out what these businesses do. And every year they choose a different theme. And the fun thing is that this year the theme is chart topping, or chart toppers. They're songs which have been in the charts over the years. So on Friday the evening, starting at 5:30, is a little cocktail party, an opening party and preview party for this event. Obviously, you'll be able to go and see the trees for the next few weeks over the Christmas holidays, through, I think, until early January. But do check it out. There's a song behind every tree, as they promise, and on Friday night there'll be appetizers and drinks as well. So check it out, Berkshire Museum, 5:30 on Friday, November the 16th.
Now on the 16th, we head back to Sheffield, Massachusetts, an introduction to essential oils.
Yeah, no, with the essential oils we're talking about here are not gasoline and engine oil. In fact, actually, the reason I mention this is because when I walk into so many rooms in our house now, I come across one great smell or another. And my wife has really become a big fan of these essential oils and how they help you in health and well-being. And on Friday evening, down at the Bushnell Sage Library in Sheffield at 6:00, they've arranged a talk from Tina Bunce, who is a wellness advocate, and she is going to be really in a position to talk about and teach what these essential oils are, the different methods on how to use them, how to incorporate them in your life, and some of the most common oils and the benefits of them. So if you're interested, I suspect that some of these oils will make great gifts as well for the holiday season. So check that out at the Bushnell Sage Library in Sheffield at 6:30 on Friday evening, the 16th.
On the 16th, back to Pittsfield, Massachusetts.
Yeah. This will be a very different evening on Friday evening. The Whitney is having a concert. It's going to be the inaugural Berkshire Music Project concert. And it's going to feature a double bill, and there are going to be all sorts of special guests. But what it's doing, importantly, is it's a chance to celebrate the release of Johnny Iron's new album, Driving Friend. And he's going to get some support from Pat Sanson of Wilco. So it's going to be a pretty popular event. They're promising all sorts of other surprise guests as well. So if you are a music fan, and particularly, by the way, the band that was put together to play on Driving Friend with Johnny Iron includes people who were in the Doors, Wilco, and Mother Hips as well. And the music is all sorts of blues and gospel and folk and country. So it's really a wide range of music, great fun. And that all starts at 8 o'clock at the Whitney in Pittsfield on Friday evening.
On the 17th in Hudson, New York, 19th Century Stationery at Olana.
Yeah. The great thing about Olana is that as the seasons change, the view changes dramatically at Olana, and so it's always worth going back several times a year. And on Saturday at 10 o'clock in the morning, they're also having a little class which looks really useful. And as I say, we're all getting into the holiday spirit here, what with wreaths and being built in one place. But this is a chance, actually, to change your habits. Instead of buying holiday cards, which are ready-made, Olana has arranged a session where you can learn how to make your own cards. And the Grant House Press are going to be there, and they're going to be teaching this class. So you and the other participants, if you go, really will be able to actually see how to make holiday stationery, and you can send your loved ones sort of these 19th century inspired keepsakes. So an interesting class, and it's at Olana, so it's a good excuse to get out to Olana on Saturday, November the 17th, at 10 o'clock in the morning.
We will go from Olana to North Adams, Massachusetts on the 17th for the holiday market.
Yeah, this is a big deal. This is the second annual festival and holiday market up at Greylock Works in North Adams. This is the newly built, refurbished enormous facility up in North Adams. And last year it was an incredible success. And the whole idea behind this holiday market, this what they're calling the festive holiday market, is that it will satisfy all of your holiday needs in one place and on one day. And they've brought together over 100 local makers. They're bringing together 25 performers and 2 chefs. And the whole thing is a really local experience, as all of the vendors are local, and most of the vendors actually, and most of the makers are going to be actually at Greylock Works on the day itself. So you can make a full day of it. You can go and find some wonderful gifts from local people. In fact, you can probably even buy some stuff for yourself there as well. There's going to be a tremendous selection of fresh foods, and that will be excellent. And of course, there's going to be tremendous acoustic entertainment throughout the day. They've got these 25 performers are going to be there, all sorts of performers, but a lot of them is music. And just to give you an idea of how successful this is, I noticed there was a little note at the bottom of their website to potential artisans who want to go to this event and show their wares. They said that the market is oversubscribed. They just don't have room for additional vendors because it was so successful last year. So if you are looking for good excuse to get some holiday gifts sooner rather than later, this is your opportunity. So it's the whole day starts at 10:30 in the morning at Greylock Works in North Adams and runs till 5:30 in the evening on Saturday, the 17th.
Also on the 17th in Hudson, My Architect, A Son's Journey.
Yeah, and, this looks just absolutely fascinating. 3:00 in the afternoon at Hudson Hall. They've got this event, and apparently in 1974, an old man died almost sort of unnoticed in Penn Station in New York. And in fact, it took the police 2 days to actually determine that the dead man was Louis I. Kahn, who was really quite a significantly important contemporary architect. And sort of 20 years after he died, Nathaniel Kahn, who was his illegitimate son, set out to sort of find out about his father's life and sort of almost recreate it in this event. And it turns out that his father had escaped from a Jewish ghetto in Estonia. He then went on to this career as an architect at the age of 50 and became really very significant. And then he went on to his death in sort of dire poverty as well. So an absolutely amazing lifestyle and life over the time. And his son has made this into a sort of a story, a talk, and an opportunity to really bring it all to life. Absolutely fascinating. And he's going to be talking at 3:00 in Hudson Hall on Saturday, the 17th. It's called My Architect, A Son's Journey. So great. It sounds absolutely fascinating.
Well, on the 17th, we can head to Rhinebeck, New York, Oblong Books Puppy Day.
Yeah, slightly different end of the spectrum here. Well, as a dog owner, of course, I had to mention this. Oblong Books in Rhinebeck, not their other store, but in Rhinebeck, is having their puppy day, as you say. It starts at 10 o'clock, runs through till 6 in the evening, and they are bringing in all sorts of dog authors or books. The books aren't actually written by dogs; they're written by dog lovers, and also some other people as well. So they're having the New Yorker cartoonist Lisa Donnelly, and she's going to be presenting her new book, which is called Be the Person Your Dog Thinks You Are. Ken Foster is coming in with his new book, which is called City of Dogs, New York Dogs, Their Neighborhoods, and the People Who Love Them. But there's an opportunity to buy them as well. But there's those books as well. But there's an interesting thing as well. They're having representatives, both human and canine, from the Animal Farm Foundation and the New York City Department of Corrections, who are going to come in and talk about the work that they do together to make a really positive impact on the lives of both dogs and people through this Paws of Purpose program at Rikers Island, where I think the dogs are trained by prisoners. So it sounds an absolutely fascinating event to go to at Oblong Books. And they say that you're very welcome to take your dogs as well, and they'll be welcome in the store all day. So it sounds like it will be a really wild and wacky day at Oblong Books and Music in Rhinebeck, but also there will be a serious side to it as well, which is really lovely. So check that out. That's Saturday, November the 17th.
Claverack, New York is our next destination on the 17th.
Yeah, another really interesting little talk here. It's actually a screening of a documentary. Claverack Library is putting this on November the 17th. It starts at 4:00 in the evening. It's or in the afternoon. It's a documentary by Barbara Reiner, and it's called as Brought to Light. And it started because there was a sort of cleanup effort by a few villagers of some old stone markers in an overgrown field in Kinderhook some years ago. And it led to the rediscovery of a forgotten slaves cemetery in which hundreds of African Americans were buried in the 1800s. And as a result, this has become a sort of a way of looking at the past lives of some of Kinderhook's lesser known, I suppose, non-white population. It's a fascinating documentary all about Black history, about the history of Kinderhook, and about some of the residents of the Hudson Valley, really, to try and restore this whole cemetery and to make it into a real feature in the area. So you can go along, watch the film, and then there will be a question and answer session with the filmmaker as well. So that's at Claverack Library, 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday, November the 17th.
On the 17th from Claverack, just a hop, skip, and a jump over to Chatham.
Yeah, I had to talk about this because it is really fascinating, and I know that because it's one of the main stories in Rural Intelligence this week. So in Chatham Bookstore at 5 o'clock on November the 17th, they're having the author and artist, who is a cut paper artist, yes, I'll come back to that in a minute, called Maud White. And she is going to be celebrating the release of 2 books this year. Her first book was released in the spring, and it was accompanied by a note card set and a journal and a notebook, and it was called Brave Birds, and it features 65 cut paper birds. Which is an amazing art, and I can't really describe it. You have to actually see the pictures on Rural Intelligence and see the pictures on her website. And these are all cut out of paper in amazing detail and elegance and sophistication. They're amazing things to look at. And it's so there's these pictures of these 65 birds, and there's all sorts of comforting and encouraging words along with this book. But then she's also the illustrator of another book which is called Leading with Love, Inspiration for Spiritual Artists, which has just been released in the last month or so. So and Maud has an amazing sort of family life. She grew up in a family of puppeteers and toy makers and writers in Buffalo. She now lives in the Hudson Valley. You can read all about her in the Rural We section of Rural Intelligence this week. And then you can go along and meet her at the Chatham Bookstore, 5 o'clock in the evening on Saturday, the 17th. So, and she'll be there. I'm sure she'll be giving a demonstration of these, and I'm sure you'll also see some of these amazing cut paper birds as well. Pretty amazing.
Monterey, Massachusetts, at 4 o'clock on the 17th, Bidwell House Fall Fundraiser.
Yeah, as we've talked over the years, you know that I love the Bidwell House as one of those small, lovely museums in the area, and they need to raise funds as well. They have a big summer fundraiser, but they also have this lovely little fall fundraiser where they open up the house and they really decorate it in traditional fashion and have all sorts of little parties, as it were, around it. So this is their full fundraiser house. It's actually at the Bidwell House Museum at 4 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, the 17th. They've got a guest speaker, Bonnie Hartley, who's going to be talking about something which I hadn't heard about before, but looks really interesting. It's called the Native American Heritage Trail, which is being developed through the Berkshires at the moment. So go along, enjoy the party atmosphere, a few cocktails and hors d'oeuvres, and this talk as well. So really fascinating.
We move on to Red Hook, New York, Annandale on Hudson. The Isabella Rossellini Link Circus.
Yeah, I saw this, and I mean, she's really an amazing, as we know, amazing woman. And Bard College is hosting her on Saturday evening at 7:30. She is obviously the well-known filmmaker, but she is giving a lecture this time round, and it does sound an amazing lecture. She takes her inspiration from the natural world, and has made it into a theatrical lecture which addresses the latest scientific discoveries. And they're all about animal minds, about intelligence, and about emotions. She apparently brings a trained dog, which called Pan with her, and she transforms herself during this talk into Aristotle, Descartes, Charles Darwin. And apparently, so this becomes an incredibly vivid monologue, lecture, whatever you want to call it, about the brilliance of the animal kingdom and the latest discoveries in it as well. It's called Link Circus. Check it out on via Rural Intelligence on her website, and you'll see that it's going to be pretty wild. So if you fancy a trip down to Bard College on November the 17th at 7:30, I think it will be a sold-out event. So do check in early and see whether you can get a ticket. Really fascinating.
And we can go to Great Barrington on the 17th, Arlo Guthrie, Alice's Restaurant Tour.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of famous people in the area, and this is the Alice's Restaurant Tour, which happens to coincide with the 50th anniversary of the film Alice's Restaurant, which I re-watched only a few months ago, and remains just as funny and hilarious and amazing as it was when I first saw it, probably not quite 50 years ago, probably 30 or 40 years ago. It's so Arlo Guthrie is coming back. He's going to be at the Mahawi. It's 8 o'clock on Saturday, November the 17th. He is joined on stage by a whole series of longtime collaborators, including his son Abe. Then there's Terry Allaberry Hall, there's Steve Ide, Carol Ide. They were both in his former band, the Shenandoah. And his daughter, Sarah Lee Guthrie, is going to be there and opening for them as well. So it's going to be a busy evening at the Mahawi on Saturday, November the 17th at 8 o'clock in the evening.
New Marlborough, Massachusetts on the 18th. You can hike Steepletop.
Yeah, I said we had 2 hikes this week, and this is another great, this looks like a really interesting hike. So the Steepletop Reserve is also run by the Berkshire Natural Resources Council. And this is going to be an easy to moderate hike of their largest property. The Steepletop Reserve in New Marlborough is 1,200 acres or so, but it really also sits alongside another 5,000 of preserved forest as well. So there are miles of woodlands and roads and, sort of expanses of wetlands, mature forests, young forests, a lot to explore. And so the Berkshire Natural Resources Council is getting people out to wander around. And, of course, it's opening. All this landscape is opening up and down now that leaves are off the trees, so you get to see the world in a very different way. And so it's really interesting. They're going to be talking about tree identification using bark as well, which I thought was quite interesting. So, as always, you're going to need to wear sturdy footwear, and they're suggesting bring some water and a snack for lunch, because you may well be out. If you want to stay out long, you can enjoy the reserve there.
On November 18th, the big HVAA, it's the Housatonic Valley Association auction for the environment at 12 noon.
Yeah, this is actually, I think, on Sunday the 19th, actually. Sunday the 18th. So what am I talking about? It's Sunday the 18th as well. This is going to be a really popular event. The Housatonic Valley Association has this auction for their environment. They've always been supported by Linda Allard and Christine Baranski. So we've talked about them in the past. On Sunday, starting at 12 o'clock, there's going to be a Bellini brunch. I'll start that one again. A Bellini brunch hosted by Linda Allard. And it's going to be it's hosted by Linda and Christine Baranski at Linda's house. And then it's all going to be followed by a big music reception and silent auction at the Washington Primary School. And then there's going to be a big live auction at 2:30 in the afternoon. So an interesting event to support, and I think it will be full of very interesting people as well. So that's on Sunday, November the 18th. In various locations, but mostly the Washington Primary School. You have to check it out on the Housatonic Valley Association's website.
On the 18th, we go to Rhinebeck, New York. It's the Sinterklaas Artisan Craft Fair.
Yep. We're way into the Santa Claus season, and this is one of their big events. There's going to be free admission into the Rhinebeck Town Hall. They've got 25 really high-quality craft artists who have given all of these products to Santa Claus. The proceeds for all these products will go to Santa Claus. It includes jewelry, knitted items, photography, pottery, wood items, glass, cards, all sorts of things like that. And also you can buy some of the Santa Claus illuminated stars and handcrafted butterflies, which are a bit of feature of their craft fair. That's all at the Rhinebeck Town Hall. Starts at 10 o'clock in the morning on November the 18th and runs till 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
And we can wrap things up at a book launch in West Stockbridge, Massachusetts.
Yeah, now this is a true story. About 2 years ago, a friend was telling me about her hip replacement surgery and had said that she'd had to stay at home for some days, obviously, as she was recovering. And a mutual friend of ours had arranged a wonderful group of friends to bring her meals, to visit her, and to bring her some home-cooked meals. And that mutual friend was Janet Reich Elsbach, and she is really well known in the community. She's been a big supporter of CATA and also has been involved in preserving the Great Barrington Fairgrounds there, and particularly preserving them from development. Well, she's also been really busy because she's just written a cookbook called Extra Helping, which is a whole series of recipes for caring and connecting and building a community in the area. So it's a lovely book. I've seen it and well worth getting. And they're having a big book launch party for it at 6 Depot Cafe, which is in West Stockbridge, on Sunday, November the 18th at 5 o'clock in the evening. So it runs. The party runs from 5 till 7. And definitely worthwhile attending, and I'm sure the books will be for sale, and the other thing is you'll be able to taste some of the products because there will be lots of snacks and refreshment there as well. So that's 6 Depot Cafe in West Stockbridge on Sunday the 18th at 5 o'clock in the evening. And the book to look out for is Extra Helping from Janet Reich Elsbach.
And that'll wrap up a very busy week in our region. Mark, we'll speak to you again next week.
I look forward to it. Thanks very much, Marshall.